And this evening I'm in San Francisco for the Full Circle Fund and the promise of a keynote from a really interesting speaker.
Coalition building. Money raised.
$18 million for affordable housing.
$26 million for education in Oakland.
This is real money.
It's more than the money.
This is a partnership that has made a difference for our organization.
This evening, Full Circle is launching its first global fund, and keynote speaker Sheryl Sandberg lifted our eyes beyond the business as usual of some US-centric philanthropy to a vision of systematic global concern that I found truly inspiring. Perhaps not surprising, given her role not only at Google and Facebook, but before that at the World Bank's leprosy program and as Bill Clinton's Treasury Chief of Staff.
The richest 10% of families in the world own 85% of the world's resources, and the bottom 50% own just 1%. The richest 500 people in the world have more money and more wealth than the bottom 400 million. Given all of this, it's notable that less than 5% of US individual charity goes overseas in most years. That's why I'm particularly excited to be here tonight as the Full Circle Fund is launching the Global Economic Opportunity Circle. Thank you guys for that effort. It will make a huge difference. My second thought, work on systematic problems and find the invisible victims. Economists speak quite frequently about the visible victim. Studies show over and over that the visible victim, the one we can see, feel, and touch, identify, gets the majority of our contributions. A great example of this is the horrible tsunami of December 2004. I'm sure we all remember it. We watched in horror in front of our TVs as 225,000 people lost their lives. The outpouring of generosity from the United States was incredible. $6 billion raised in less than 2 weeks. 45% of Americans gave something to the effort. Contrast that with the regular 5% each year that give overseas. That was tremendous, and all of those efforts should be applauded. But I note that every 6 weeks, that many people die in this world, mostly children, of unsafe water. And every 6 weeks, that many people starve in this world, where the rest of the world, or the developed world, has a problem of obesity. In the wake of the tsunami, donations to the UN's World Food Program, which targets Africa, dropped 20%. Isn't that amazing? The visible victim is so compelling, and I don't want to take anything away from those of us, myself included, that tried to help. The invisible victim is harder to see. It makes sense that this happens. We all want to do something that's measurable. Programs which have the capacity, and I'm on the board of one of them, so I'm not against them, where you fund a certain amount and you fund a specific thing, the Save the Children model, are really important. And they also make everyone feel great because they feel like they've done a very systematic thing with a result they can measure, a name they can see, a person they can save. It's also the truth, and I've worked in development, I know this as so many people in this audience do, that you can feed a child all day long, and when they're drinking unclean water, they never gain any weight because of dysentery. But fixing the water problem in Africa, you can't fund one child, you can't save one life, you have to do something systematic, you have to really change infrastructure. And that's harder, it's less measurable, therefore it's less appealing. I spent a couple months very early in my career working at the Children's Defense Fund, and for a summer, I was in charge of the Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program. And adolescent pregnancy prevention is really important in this country. The #1 way to make sure you do not graduate from college and live a life below the poverty line is to have a child in high school. The escape from those statistics are really, really hard. So preventing adolescent pregnancy is really important. People believe that what you need to do is give education and birth control. And I believe in those programs. I'm a supporter of those programs. But the truth is, if you actually look at the problem, if you surveyed me and my friends when we were 16 and said, why don't you want to have a baby? We would have talked about our futures. I would have said, I'm going to college, I want to have a career, I can't have a baby. When you survey the kids that get pregnant in this country and you ask them why they don't want to have a baby at 16, they say they do. Because they do not have a vision of their future which having that baby would harm. It's easier, or not easy, but it is easier to set up an education program on sex prevention in a school than it is to change an entire generation and an entire community's perception of the future. Both need to happen. So finding ways to work on the long term, the unmeasurable, the systemic, is what we all need to do. And once again, something that I think the Full Circle Fund has done truly well. My third thought, build great philanthropic institutions and remember the institution. I've worked in the Valley as a business person for almost 8 years. For 6.5 quarters at Google and now 4 quarters at Facebook, I report my revenue at the end of every quarter to the street or to the board. And never once has anyone called me administrative overhead and told me I should be minimized. They've applauded me, they've applauded my teams. I note that what we worry about in the nonprofit sector as administration and overhead is managerial excellence and organizational competence in the private sector. It's the same thing. I really believe, having worked in these organizations that are pushed to reduce that, while of course it's good in some ways, has gone too far and reduces the capacity to build organizations, to build the managerial excellence which it takes to run these programs. I stand here today believing that for myself and almost everyone in this room, it is a true accident of birth that we're here. I know that I'm lucky, that whatever I've gained in life is, partially due to some hard work, some passion, some dedication, but almost entirely due to the sheer accident of birth of where I was and the opportunities that have been presented to me. If you knew my father, you'd know how true this is, but a child born into my family in Miami, Florida, had approximately 100% chance of going to college. A child born in sub-Saharan Africa has a 1/6 chance today of not living to their 5th birthday. With the opportunities we're all given, with the opportunity I've been given, and everyone in this room, come tremendous responsibilities to give back. And right now, when we are going to see people we know lose our jobs, people in their own communities, where we have to make the hard calls about what we do in this country with failing industries. Do we protect them, or do we take what I think is the right step of staying on the path of free trade, one area where the Republicans are actually better than the Democrats, so that we continue to build sustainable development for the poorest people in the world? These are going to be the hard choices. And remembering that it's an accident of birth that we live in the United States, that we have responsibilities to each other, to the needy within our own communities, and to the needy across the world, I believe will see us through this crisis, and I believe will help us as individuals live up to the unbelievably inspiring model of our new president. I want to congratulate the people in this room, the award winners tonight, and everyone who's here. I really believe in what Full Circle Fund does. I really believe in the model of taking people's, not just their money, but their time, taking not just their ideas, but their energy, and getting them involved in a supported way of building organizations that do everything I think philanthropy needs to do. Build sustainable organizations, help the needy, and find and support the invisible victims that really need our help each and every day. Congratulations again to all of you in this room, and may we all live up to the promise of this generation.